What time is it? Oh, am I supposed to start?
Whenever you're ready.
Have we got people on Zoom?
Yep.
Hi, people on Zoom.
I think we got one so
Hi, one. Okay, we're gonna get rolling here. A little bit about myself to begin with. There's a few in here who know me. Yeah, we call each other brothers. I'm Keith Edmonds. My EMT number is 10984. I'm a proud ambulance driver. I started at the age of 16, 1980, driving an ambulance for my uncle.
That's lower than Tim's.
I'm sorry.
That's lower than Tim's.
Yeah, that's lower than Tim's.
He's
So
11.
11.
Yeah.
Yes, Tim Hodges is one of the, and I know it's going to stroke his ego, but that's okay. But he is one of my favorite people. He is one of the smartest educators I've ever dealt with and been around. I went through his paramedic program in 1980, and I learned so much from the man. I worked here, Fulton County, for a few years, maybe 3 or 4 years, until I completely destroyed my right shoulder and ended up with like a 1.5 year long PT stuff after they had to replace it. Got finished with it. I destroyed my left shoulder on a structure fire. So um, I spent 20 years in metropolitan area, Little Rock, and I've spent the last 25 years in rural area. I love rural medicine. It's great. What y'all do out here is absolutely phenomenal. You've got long distance transports. Unfortunately, y'all have the non-emergent transports to Little Rock and Jonesboro and up north, West Plains, wherever it may take y'all, and over to Randy's home at Baxter. And but uh, anyway, I come to you guys from Madison County, which is where I'm the person who pays the bills. And but I actually live in a community called Bruno over in Marion County. So I have an 80-mile commute to work every morning, 80-mile commute back home, and that's done. So I have retirement when I get a little bit older, and I have a lengthy medical history. To make it short, I've coded and survived, and had 2 open heart surgeries in 3 days. And then 6 months later, I lost half of my right lung. So I had a full thoracotomy done. So you'll hear me clear my throat a lot. It's just some fluid buildup. It ain't no big deal. Y'all can give me a little Lasix if it gets real bad. But I farm on top of EMS, and we farm hard. We have 731 acres out in Bruno, and we run in about 300 mama cows on that acreage, and we're doing our best to get them all gone and just come down to a very few. But it's an everyday, all day adventure. My wife does all my ground feed on the farm. Father-in-law is still around. He helps it with the hay, and we just all kind of come together as a family. We have cows, of course. Have a couple of horses that ain't worth anything, but we have several ATVs, side by sides, motorcycles, things like that we use to work our cattle with. So Big Mike asked me to come over today and kind of talk to you a little bit about farming. I've been putting on a presentation for about the last 10 years on farm injuries and what you're going to run into in rural America, not just here in Arkansas, but across rural America. And some of the statistics are astounding at what we're finding out there and the lack of knowledge on our part, as well as our first responders. I'm a big first responder fan. Um, so I started looking at this. Everything usually is about 2 years behind before NEOSH, OSHA, all the 4-letter word people that put all of our statistics together. So the information you're going to see today is about 2 years old. And I usually get my updates about May, June area of each year. So I'm sure hope everybody can hear me. Hello out there again in Zoom land. Name of the class really is Take a Trip and Never Leave the Farm, based on an old song that I've heard before. There's my email, my cell number. Bruno requires you to usually text me. Sometimes if I'm out on the farm somewhere on a hilltop, I'll get a call. Two major types of farming that we have here in Arkansas, especially, is livestock, which includes everything there. And then we have our commodity. Most of your stuff here is livestock. I don't know of any rice, soybean, cotton fields here in Fulton County. There may be some corn. I'm not sure. Some farmers are growing corn to make moonshine with. So I'm just not quite sure on that. But anyway, 22, there were 5,486 fatal occupational injuries. 146 of those were in agriculture. You can see the numbers. 16 of them were in fishing, hunting, and trapping fatalities. That's kind of astounding to me. It's really a surprising number. We have 5 in Arkansas, which numbers are really skewed. I don't think they're getting the reports in appropriately in our state. However, that was the information that they provided for me. That came from USDA. Highest fatal injuries, percentage-wise, comes from those that are in the forestry, fishing, and hunting. 23.5% out of 100,000, compared to 3.7% in all the other farming industries. It's kind of a crazy, crazy number. 2 million reported work-related non-fatal injuries, which takes you away from your job, puts you on unemployment, disability, whatever it may be. It starts cutting into your funding for everything, that you rely on. There and like I just said, there's well-known underreporting of injuries and illnesses in this farming injuries. We stay on them constantly to try to get updated information. Primary causes of death. It's just 18. One of the biggest things we're going to talk about today is struck by animals, because a lot of us are out here working cattle every day, and we never really think about getting older, like myself, being fast enough to get away from them or sidestep them like we used to when we were 20 years younger. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and so, all of this, we're going to talk about all of it. But my predominant thing is the livestock. 1.9 million farms, 843,000 youth, which is 51%. Basically, 51% of the kids that grow up on a farm worked on the farm. Well, they didn't around our place. My kids worked on the farm 100%. A child dies every 3 days, and a child being under the age of 18. Tractors, ATVs, UTVs, side-by-sides, all that are leading the sources of fatal events. And I know that surprises you guys. 20% of the deaths are in contact with machinery, and then 13, is with violent contact with animals or other humans. Other humans can be a challenge on a farm. Their cattle cross their fence too many times, they get mad. They go out there, they step in cow crap. Now they're mad. So, fisticuffs come out. Somebody's going to get beat, and then the other one's going to pull a gun. And I mean, we see it a lot. Top 5 injury statistics. it's pretty much everything I've already told you. A child every 3 days. Agriculture work related or deaths are associated with children doing work that does not match their developmental skills. 60% of child ag-related injuries happen to children who are not working. They're sitting around hiding from dad, and the old cow gets cut loose and they didn't know they were there. But every day, 33 children are seriously injured in some type of agriculture-related injury. Ag-related injuries and illnesses, some of the common related stuff is your pesticide exposures, of course. That applies a lot, mostly to flatlanders. We do use some here in the hills. Y'all can read that stuff. I don't need me to tell you all of it. Don't forget your exposure to temperature extremes. Get the clothes off of them. And again, we're going to talk about a lot of this stuff throughout. I don't want to get ahead and say, oh, y'all are bored listening to me. So let's get into some cattle farming. There's a little old Charolais bull that'll run somewhere 2,600 pounds. He's probably a 7-8-year-old bull by the way he looks. And Charolais are some of the most temperamental of any beef that's raised. I can speak on that on a personal level, as that's what I raise. And I've got the bruises to prove it. But you can see how large they are. Powerful, quick, very protective of their herd. Very unpredictable during breeding times. Ladies, just be cautious around bulls during your menstrual cycle. It's just something to remember. Those bulls will react to that. And I know it's kind of odd, but it does. It happens. The same thing with lions and tigers and bears and all the wildlife. They react to that. I did have a fatal lion attack in Greenbrier, Arkansas because of that. So that's how I started learning about that situation. Dairy bulls. I don't know, is there very many dairies over this way? 3. Those bulls, the Holstein, Jersey, Guernsey bulls are the most dangerous.
South of Elizabeth, off in the hills.
Oh, that's right. There is one over there.
Yeah, I delivered.
Which one?
There's
2 stations in Boston.
Yeah.
Gillespie's got a dairy right there across the
They're the Amish run dairies.
Yes, that's right. Out here where we did the motocross stuff.
Yes.
Sturkey. I'll get it out. See, I'm not too old. They are the most, honestly, they're your most dangerous because they're around humans all the time. Very, very protective of their mama cows and their babies. And they're always disrupting stuff. 25 mile per hour is not unheard of with a bull. So just kind of show you who's going to walk up here and grab this calf. Because I got a job for you. No. This mama, she's a Charolais Hereford mix. That sells really well over in my part of the world. She kicked out a little Charolais calf, and I was getting ready to go tag it and band it. Decided that I better not. But one thing I wanted, the reason I put this in here, I want you to look where she's at. Now, you gonna get your ambulance to her?
No.
Oh, and just knowing this location, she's about 3.5 miles from the county road, over 4-wheeler trails and stuff like that. So if I went in there and got hold of that calf, she got hold of me and hurt me up pretty good, and I needed to be taken out. Helicopter is a must. By the time we get in there and start our treatment modalities, usually we're going to watch them die. So get the helicopter, early activation on any farm injury. I highly recommend, especially being out like we are. some actual cases I brought into it so you guys can see what you're going to be dealing with cattle. Well, look at there. I got a little green light. Blunt force trauma. Blunt force. Always remember that on a farming incident. No need for an autopsy. It was pretty obvious. This is my daughter. This has been a while back. She was probably 7, 8-year-old at that point. She's now 23. So she was my bottle calf farmer. She took care of all the babies that lost their mamas or they couldn't get enough milk on their mamas, whatever it may be. So I snuck a few pictures to reminisce back in the older days. She's a mess, mean as she can be, and so's the calf. Another case. On our farm, we have done our best to get rid of all the threatening cows and calves and bulls. We just can't afford to go through those kind of injuries anymore. I'll say you sit and fight them, but it's not worth it. Get them gone. Prices are really good. Really good. There's another one. You see how they bottle feed them. See how gentle that calf is. I mean, but notice as well, I got a gate between that calf and her because that calf's going to nudge that bottle. And that's going to, if she's holding it like that, it's going to knock the bottle out of her hand. She's going to have to go get it, wipe the nipple off, and then go back to feeding again. But a calf this size, which is roughly 150 pounds, will knock you to your butt. Just trying to eat, trying to nudge that bottle like they would a mama cow. Another case. Blunt force again. I hope y'all can everybody see everything okay. So what we're gonna do with the blunt force, if we got anything close by that's gonna be able to take care of that. I know they don't in Mountain Home, they don't in Jonesboro really. Might get lucky and have a thoracic surgeon there for blunt force chest trauma, but rarely. We know they don't in West Plains, so they go into Little Rock, they're gonna go Springfield, they're gonna go Tulsa, St. Louis, somewhere other than anywhere we're gonna get them on the ground around here. This Lily and Allie, Lily came to us, on one day, or day one. Her mother died, and so Lily became the farm pet, and literally, she would eat out of my hand. She refused to eat out of a trough. She refused to eat with the other cows. She come out, she eat cubes out of my hand. She'd eat grain out of my hand, and she had to have those ears rubbed. We lost Lily last week, so been pretty solemn place around the farm for a little while, because we were all attached, just like a dog. You have a dog for 15 years, you get attached to them. But anyway, we now have Champ the bull because she prolapsed after having the cat, and about probably 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and we found her about 8, 9 o'clock the next morning. So there was nothing that could be done for her. Cattle farmers are going to say they're not hurt. They're going to play off their injuries, even though that bone's sticking out of their arm. I'm going to put a Band-Aid on it, it'll be all right. So, it's real important that we do a very thorough assessment. And this is where we play brand new EMT and not a 30-year medic and try to talk this patient into going to the hospital. And I mean, it's just an abundant necessity for us to try to get them to go. Okay, we'll move on to horses. Again, there's Allie. This was last year. And that's Sugar, her little quarter horse. Anybody know Eminence, Missouri? So she goes to Eminence every year with this horse and rides. She's been going now for 12 years. And at any given time during the week that she's there, there's 30,000 plus horses there. So they really have their hands full. And you know anything about Eminence, there's nothing around Eminence. So it's we go up there and usually spend 2 or 3 days with them and ride and play and stuff. But there's just nothing close. Always remember there's never anything close enough. This little old mare just got her. She was wild as a March wind. This Maddie Weaver on her trying to get her to break. But the reason this picture's on here, you can see that crow hopping outfit. Oh, I'm being nice, Randy. You can see how it's crow hopping. But what you really need to notice is look at all this leather stuff. And look on her back of her boot, I think it's a spur. One of the worst things in the world that can happen when you get a crow hopping horse like this, if you're not in control, is that spur's going to get hung up in that leather. And when you come off that saddle, guess where you're going? Wherever that horse wants to go, because you're not going to get cut loose. But anyway, we got the horse broke. It goes to Eminence now and does trail rides as well. So same thing as cows, large animals, a lot of injuries. Watch their body language. They may love you scratching their nose or rubbing their ears. In the meantime, they're just steadily turning that side to you while you're doing all that. And the moment you scratch that ear, rub the side of that head or something, and they don't have you in their vision, they're going to kick the car out of you. And it's going to hurt. Like the statement there is a vehicle at 20 mile an hour or 1,500 to 2,000 pounds per square inch on a horse kick. Cattle, the same way. They hurt. They knock bones off. They knock chips out of bones. I got one on my right leg where I got kicked, and it's a pretty significant impact. And we're gonna play it off. We're just gonna walk it off and go back to work. Okay, it's money.
Yeah, look at that.
Money was not so gentle. As you can see, every muscle on the front end of that horse is tight and taut, and he is ready to fight. So Money's not ready to fight anymore. He's just as gentle as I am. Well, more gentle than I am, but Money's a good horse now. It just took a lot of work and a lot of trust. You have to develop a lot of trust with horses. Most of your, when they're kicked, like I said, or when they're blown, brushed, knocked over by body is what blown means. When they fall, tree limbs, especially those that are half wild, they'll want to run you up underneath the tree and knock you off with a limb. Or just like I said, you get entangled in the reins or the leather on that saddle. Horse bites account for about 4.5% of the injuries. Horses are a lot different than cattle. They have a full set of teeth, uppers and lowers, and the ones in the very back are really, really long, can do some significant damage. I'm sure this gentleman on the right, his hand's crushed now. No question about that whatsoever. The lady on the left, she thinks pretty funny. Let her get her hand up in there. The only way to break this release, honestly, is to run your fingers as deep up that nose as you can and try to lift that nose up. They're just almost impossible to break loose once you get started. Do not, and I'll show you here in a second, try to yank away from it, try to run away from it, because they're going to go the opposite direction and serious things can happen. Here's a horse bite. I ain't joking, they're bad. Like this piece right here, I would say was in the back jaw, just by the depth of the puncture. Pretty significant injury here. You can see there the bicep, muscle, fascia, subq, everything was completely torn away from the humerus. They had a complete laceration of the brachial artery, and the brachial and basilic vein. So, you know, they can do some bad stuff. I'm sorry, I should have told y'all there's going to be some graphic pictures. I meant to do that, and I apologize. Not that y'all are worried about it, but here's some post-op pictures. I mean, the surgeon's done a fabulous job with this patient. You know, they may go from a mild nip, what we call a nip, to something like we just saw. You never know with a horse. A lot of times, the severe bites end up with an amputation. It's just beyond repair. That's why I was so impressed with that particular patient there and the injuries he had. They are heavily contaminated. You don't see a horse with pearly white teeth. You know, they don't take a toothbrush and all that to their mouth every day. There's a whole list of words I can't pronounce, that the diseases that come with just a simple bite, the ones that we need to pay attention to more than anything, or that we can take care of. You know, we need to drip Ancef. We need to take care of strep. The rest of that stuff in the field, there's not a lot we can do, because these are all early onset injuries and situations. So this is one of my patients. I do have permission to use this. I happened to be at Washington Regional, and my medical director is an ER doc there. He and I just met. They called him back to a room. So I was going to get my vehicle and go back to the office. And he come running out in the parking lot and said, "Come help." You're a doctor. I'm just an ambulance driver. And I'm going back to Huntsville. So this is what I walk into. This is what happens when you
Run away.
try to get away from them with their teeth still on you. She was completely degloved from about right here, just above her wrist. They were wondering how to keep the limb alive, which was, duh, what are we going to do? We're going to start a line. I mean, it's not like you're going to have to look very hard to find a vessel. You know, so we went through all that. And while we're in there, the husband comes in with a Walmart bag and the skin that he had picked up. Of course, skin was of no use. We sent her to St. Louis for a complete rebuild of that arm, skin grafts, cadaver grafts, and hog grafts. I'm pretty sure they used some hog grafts on her as well, around the armpit area. She survived it. She didn't lose her arm. She was real lucky. So anyway, let's go. Do we all have y'all have a few chicken farms, turkey farms?
Quite a few.
Yeah, one or two.
Yeah.
I was thinking I remembered correctly. So they're a little different. You know, they're a little different for us to have to deal with. And sometimes we really don't realize how different they are. It's continuously growing for the most part. We're having one big company, Cargill, they're closing down. over in northwest Arkansas. But still, and at any point, you're going to see 30 to 40,000 birds. Just depends on what your house is developed for and what Tyson or somebody, Butterball, whatever they say that you can handle there efficiently. You're not going to see the guys that run these things wearing respirators and masks and safety goggles and all that. So, they get sick. They're going to have some serious respiratory stuff. And we're going to need some Solumedrol like right off the bat to try to start combating the respiratory stuff as we're giving them, as we're giving them updrafts. 100% O2 via non-rebreather. That's something that we forget. I know a lot of our protocols now are downplaying so much oxygen. I'm not. I never do, never will. You can ask Randy. He responds to my neighborhood, and he gets there. They're on 100% O2 non-rebreather if they're sick, because I'm a firm believer that stuff works. Seen it work too many times to be against it. We'll have a lot of hazardous chemicals, a lot of mechanical moving machinery parts. We'll have the poultry present usually. And the big thing that we need to remember is the patient will be delivered to you. Everything we've got on our boots and on our clothing that we've touched in the last 2 to 3 weeks is still there. You can take one of those chem lights and look, and you can see it. It's just unreal how long stuff stays with us. The moment you walk into that chicken turkey barn with that contaminated boot, you just killed the whole flock.
Another thing, guys, when we go to these chicken houses and stuff, they don't want that truck past the counter. All their stuff has been sprayed down. Our stuff hasn't.
Avian flu.
Pretty well timed.
Yes.
But I mean, you'll know when you pull up whether you can enter there or not.
If they've called from inside the barn, you call them back. Everybody has a cell phone for the most part. And you tell them you're at the stop area awaiting the arrival of the patient. They may come to you all mangled up and everything, but we didn't kill $35,000 worth of birds in that barn. So that's just something to remember. Don't walk off into a barn full of chickens or turkeys. Avian flu, I'll talk on it briefly. Avian flu, everything inside that cattle guard gets destroyed when you have avian flu. And I'm not talking about burn up or anything like that. They come in with machinery and they dig 60-foot deep holes. And if it's inside that, well, it's actually a 100-yard perimeter. It's inside a 100-yard perimeter, it goes in that hole. You may have just bought a brand new truck. It's in that hole. I personally witnessed that over in Zinc. The farmer had avian flu that came into his farm from another farm in Missouri. And it cost him everything, his home, his farm, everything there. So that's some pretty serious stuff if you hear people talking about avian flu. Typical inhalation injuries, explosions, collapse, and of course animals. Some of these birds, like our turkeys, they're raising them 27, 28 pounds. And some of the old gobblers will have some 2-inch hooks on them. Those are pretty dangerous when they get a hold of you. Hogs. Oh, hogs. Y'all have hogs over here? Y'all want some? I killed 59 at one time in a pen at the house. We're just overrun with them. We're using night vision scopes, and we're taking as many as we can at night, but I mean, that's usually just 5 or 6 before they figure out, hey, that's somebody shooting, and they're gone. And they have a low center of gravity. They will take your feet out from under you. There's no question about it. They're coming at you. If you're not quick enough, you're going to go to the ground. Usually it'll break a leg when they impact you. They will chew on you. They will cut you with those cutters on the back jaw. And absolutely, I mean, you can see here the cutters there and on the very front of that lower jaw, they rip. I mean, and they rip good. And I don't know if anybody's worked a hog injury or not, but you got these fools that'll walk up there while they're hunting them with a knife and grab them by the back leg and, kill them with a knife. No, I'm going to be about 200 yards away with a 22-250, and we're going to drop them on their tracks. That's as close as I want to be to them. But just imagine, these things are foraging underneath cow crap, anything they can find just to find a bite of food. So you can imagine what's in those teeth, and they get a hold of you. It's just you're in some serious potential for some serious injuries and illnesses. So I'm sorry, they what?
I said, they don't leave anything. The hog will shoot up
Oh
there
yes,
on all.
they in earlier years, the moonshine years, for instance, you make a moonshiner mad, they throw you in the hog because there's nothing left. You don't. I've worked one in which there was a human hand found, and that was all. Everything else was gone. And I was like, it blew my mind away. This was down in Conway, Arkansas, and that's the only one I've ever seen. But I've heard many stories, especially doing the research, that that's how the moonshiners got even with someone, was putting them in with the hogs. So they don't play around. Again, you got strep and some other words that there's no reason to be trying to pronounce, and I have no idea what all they mean. They're just mugu bad junk, and we're going to do our best to take care of them. Again, and Seth, we're going to treat them appropriately. Y'all, I don't need to know how to treat people. Common injuries, the flu, MRSA, of course, your musculoskeletal injuries. 40% of your workers have the same things as your poultry farmers on the respiratory side.
I think we all know this around here, but they're surprisingly quick too.
Oh,
So
yes.
short and little stubby legs.
And they can sure be on you before you ever know it. Okay, inside joke.
She said it sounds like me.
You're absolutely right, Dave. Sure are. Some other animals, I know we see these all over. Randy, you still have goats? No? Chickens? Couple. You have any llamas?
We got a box here that races.
There was one down the street from our house.
I did not know that.
Rabbits need to be on.
Rabbits need to be on there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sheep and goat are headbutters, and they headbutt with force.
Juan has llamas too. Yeah.
But the thing about sheep and the goat, once they get you down, they're not going to root around on you normally. They're going to wait till you get back up and put you back down. So roosters, man, some of them jokers are meaner than half the bulls I've ever seen. They come after you, and they got those spurs on them legs there that'll sure tear you up. Same thing with the turkeys. I put llamas on there. What's llamas do other than spit? They like the front feet. Unlike a horse, they'll use their front feet more than they will their back feet. Of course, dogs. Little Rock Fire Department hates me today because that's what started the first response for the fire department was dogs down the hood, because somebody died, that dog's very protective. The only thing I knew to do was to get a turnout coat over that dog. Let one of them firemen wrestle that dog out of there while I tried to do something for the patient, or see if the patient was dead, whatever it was. Cats? Why are cats on there? Y'all ever seen a cat eating on somebody? They'll sure do it. They'll sure do it, and they'll go for your eyes. You're absolutely right.
Cadence was attacked by a cat.
If
We got out of the car. She's like 3. He came running across the street and literally jumped on her, started fighting her and scratching her. Yep. He got her on the ground, and I went over there. Of course, she was screaming. I grabbed the cat by the back of the neck, pulled it off of her. But
And then punted it.
yeah, and she had like deep bite marks in her arm.
that sounds like my wife. I swear.
Yeah, that was the first time I've ever seen a cat attack, just unprovoked,
Just come right at them.
just attack somebody.
Some of your safety on your farms, especially with livestock, make sure, try to learn their characteristics, their body movements, and how they react around people. If they're blowing snot, you don't want to be around them. I can assure you, you don't want to be in there with them right then, without knowing what you're doing, for sure. Avoid quick movements, loud noises. What does that say? I don't need a siren. I don't need red lights flashing to come on somebody's farm. That's the last thing I want to do. Because now everything on that farm is stirred up. Not only the ones that are in the pen where my patient's laying, stirred up and stomping and pushing and shoving around on the patient or body, whatever it may be, but now everything is.
We don't hardly run lots of times.
Yeah. It's I have no choice because I'm strictly 911, and we get a lot of site inspections unexpected in Northwest Arkansas. Not that I ever have any issues with our service, but since we're in Northwest Arkansas, yeah, we're going to come by and make sure you're 2 minutes out the door, and just the little bitty things that we don't even consider. So, yeah. Blind spots, they've got them. If you have a pen, if you get into the livestock business, make sure you have an escape route. If you're in there taking care of a patient, make sure you have somewhere else to go. You can leave that patient behind, or you can throw the patient up over the top rail and run. And just depends on the size of your patient. Number one, it's going to be hard for me to throw Big Mike up over a top rail and get out of the bull's way. But it's real important to always maintain the escape route. Again, none of our working chutes are right next to the county road or a nice paved road, or everything's off. So just think, you're going to have to put everything on a darn backboard, scoop stretcher, whatever you got, tie it all down, and use them first responders, use them neighbors, whoever you can find to use to help you tote stuff in.
Yeah.
Because you're going to need them if it's just a leg fracture or something like that. You're going to need that extra help to tote that patient out. So always remember that. Utilize whatever you got. And another thing, I just forgot what was I going to say. Anyway, something happens. Say I go down on the farm. I'm out there by myself, but Sean Bogle, my neighbor, lives up the road there, and he may know a little bit of information about cattle and about my farm. Call him. Say, hey, of course, Sean Bogle's a doctor. He's an old ER doc from Harrison, but he has a practice in Yobel. But call a neighbor. It's not going to hurt you to get somebody down there that knows more about these animals than we do, and familiar with movements and stuff of the cattle. They're going to be glad to help. I can assure you. Farming equipment.
Neighbors, that livestock's gonna know those neighbors where they don't know us, and they're gonna be scared of us.
Well, and like I said, most of the time our cattle are going to be on their place, and they're going to be familiar with what ours look like, some of the reactions our cattle are going to have. Barbed wire is just a deterrent. It don't stop. We're gonna go into a few auger issues. Y'all need a break or anything? I'm very, very conducive to you guys. Y'all need to get up and go, get up and go. If y'all want to step outside and smoke, go smoke.
Go ahead and take a break.
Okay, we'll come back to augers. Got about another 30, 35 minutes left. I know y'all are bored of hearing me talk already. Recording's in progress, just so y'all know. We're gonna talk about auger injuries now. If it's moving, don't touch it. Very simple. That's about the best information I can give you on an auger. If it's moving, don't touch it. Just a case study again. This is something we're all guilty of in my neighborhood because I live in a rock pile, and if I got to put a big post down, for a corner or whatever it is, we're going to start the auger going until it hits rock, and then somebody's going to get up on top of that auger and jump up and down, and see if we can't get it to go past the rock. I would imagine that same incident. And we fall off of it. We don't ever think anything about it. We get right back up on it. So if it's moving, don't touch it. Don't pull a Keith and get up on top of it. Mine actually has a bar now that I welded onto the auger that I can do, pull downforce on it, because you don't have much downforce on the back of a tractor like that. About 50 pounds is all you got. Hydraulic injuries. There's high pressure, low pressure hydraulics on tractors. Make sure you turn it off, take the pressure off of whatever you're unhooking, so you don't get this or this.
Oh, yeah.
Now this was such high pressure, it went all the way through. The hydraulic fluid did. So he didn't survive. Again, take the pressure off of the equipment before you unhook your hydraulic lines. If you've got somebody entangled, have somebody that's familiar with that tractor release the pressure, take the lever, release the pressure off of that piece of equipment before you start unhooking lines and getting someone out of the auger. Again, graphic, I'm sorry, straight up. PTO injuries. They put this out in 2010 that all tractors will have some type of protection around the PTO. They're usually yellow tube, about 4 foot long. They got a big bell on one end, a big bell on the other, so you can hook up to your PTO and hook up to your equipment, whatever it may be.
All mine are in the farthest corner in the barn, stacked up in the pile.
Yep. First thing removed. I can't grease that thing with mess on there. 540 revolutions a minute, a minute, 9 revolutions per second at idle on a tractor with the PTO engaged. That's pretty fast. You run it up to 1,000 RPMs, which when I'm mowing hay, I'm at 2,300 RPMs. So you can imagine 16.6 revolutions per second and how quick you're going to get tossed around by one of those. A simple x-ray, none of that's right. There's some ribs and a spine, but you can see, I think, looks like he was cracked to me. The old type surgical crack. It's probably from the 70s because they cut his throat. But everything gets broke. Everything gets broke. This has been a big discussion over the years, how to get something or someone out from underneath it or disentangled from a PTO. If at all possible, and I've had a couple of these, but try to disconnect your PTO shaft from the tractor. And if at all possible, disconnect it from the machineries where all you have is that person in that shaft, and then go counterclockwise. Just back it out. Usually takes 3 or 4 people because you're going to be needing to hold pieces as you're backing it out. Don't worry about splints. Don't worry about any of that junk. You can't get them out. All the PTO shaft with you, and let them do it at surgery, because probably 95% of the people, if they get an arm in a PTO shaft, they're going to lose that arm anyway. There's just nothing left. Don't wear loose clothes. You're going to be working around the back of a tractor, that PTO shaft's on. Don't have a loose shirt tail hanging out. I'm going to show y'all something in a minute that'll blow your mind. But you can see how quick it ripped that shirt and pants off that person. And he was just lucky that he was not entwined with it. This 3-point hitch and the PTO shaft, you can see there's about a foot of space. I'm a lot wider than a foot. And so you're going to be spinning at 9 revolutions per second at 1,000 RPMs, or 16 a second at 1,000 RPMs, going through a little old hole like that. So you can imagine what kind of trauma you're going to be dealing with, usually fatal. Bush hog in his old cornfield. Something must have hung up. He got back there, tried to unhang it with it running. So this was a study I done. We everybody said, "Oh, I don't believe you're." I done this down at Monticello down in South Arkansas, some college. I'm sorry.
Wichita,
Okay.
community college.
No, it was Southern Arkansas SAU. Yeah. Yeah, I done it for their livestock team and stuff like that. But we took this is a Tyvex dummy. And I packed it full of hay. The hay represents fluid inside the human body with the amount of hay I put in there. And then on the cuff link of that Tyvex suit we had tied, I pulled the string, and I took that string and I dropped it on the PTO shaft. That was the outcome. So this is what you're going to be dealing with. I mean, this is how much volume your patients lost. They get entangled into a PTO shaft, and there's never a good outcome. As you can see, this is a rice field, assuming it's a rice field because that's a water pump. And a lot of those water pumps were managed and ran by PTO shafts, and it required people to get back there. And well, he got too close. But how are you going to do that?
First responders.
Not our job. That's a coroner's job.
First responders.
First responder.
Yeah.
I'm not that mean.
I am.
Randy is. Gentleman named John Lucas of Marion County, Georgia, not Arkansas, had all odds and survived a PTO entanglement. You can see there on his left arm, there's not one. I'll let y'all kind of read this. I'll just scroll through it slowly. I did have a video of it, but it was nothing more than a news clip. Sounds like riding in the back of a truck with me, a powerful crack, seeing stars.
Mhm. With PTO kids, the PTO kids.
Band-Aid will fix it.
Yeah.
And don't touch it. I think that should have been added, but that's a saved limb from a PTO. How he ever got to the PTO stopped to where they could save that arm, I'll have no clue. But that's impressive to see that rebuild like that.
Yeah.
You can
Maybe
see
it's
he's
got
at a farm safety show or something. They've got signs up and everything around. Cab tractors, 2 types of tractors in Arkansas, cab open station. That's what we're going to see because we've gotten lazy in our farming business. Unless you come to my house, and I'm not wealthy, I can't afford all these fancy tractors. I do have one, but
Is it in a hole?
I'm sorry,
Is it in a hole?
no. But you can see there is a lot of equipment on these tractors, and a lot of weight, and a lot of things that can hurt you. Common injuries with the cab tractor. Might say burns. Yeah, burns. That's got a lot of hot liquid going through it. We just saw some hydraulic injuries from the high pressure hydraulic lines.
They don't have a farm, but I've drove more farm equipment than I ever thought I would. Just because it's everywhere on a farm, it might be in my way.
Yeah.
When I show up, I've got to move it. There's, I mean,
Absolutely right.
Wait can be up to 3, 4 o'clock in the morning if they're not already up to move the tractor.
Yeah.
So I jump in it and move it.
Here's our open station tractors. There's a lot of those around. A lot of these are used in your commodities, or not commodities, your poultry businesses, because they're lower to the ground, usually, and get through the doorways and move the material around, clean out all that. This has what's called rollover protection system on it as well. So this come out after 2010. This is what they call ropes. So we'll discuss it. Why not? Or Papaw and Alley. This is a 1963 Ford Dexter.
Mhm.
I still bush hog with this tractor. So it's a 3-cylinder gasoline engine. And you can see when Allie was born in 2002, that tractor was still used every day to feed hay with. So anyway, good old tractors. One thing you have to remember, that's not a padded steering wheel at all. That's a piece of steel. So what I want to try to get out here is that rollover protection system that comes off as soon as it gets home. Seat belts gets fastened up underneath the seat. I can't get underneath the tree limb, that rollover protection system, the way I need to bush hog around the edge of my field. So we take it off, and it's right there with all the yellow stuff that cover the shafts that cover the PTO. But they are 99% effective in preventing death or serious injury. Excuse me. 80%. That's pretty impressive, isn't it? Experienced operators. Very costly. Been there. Done that.
They got to the patient, yeah, like 4 hours later.
What's something that's really important to me is 7 to 10 farms. 70% of your farms will go out of business in 5 years of a tractor injury, tractor incident. Done. They don't trust themselves again to get back on that tractor.
Yeah, I did reinstall my rope after I ran on one over in Agnes.
Yep.
I wouldn't got it.
So it's a highway department.
Yeah, aren't they they're born with stupidity.
You knew Newman. Okay, so you
Yeah,
knew-
yeah.
He and I took a transfer to Springfield one day, went up, it was up between here and Springfield, somewhere. Highway department was mowing, along an embankment. We dropped off our patient, started back. There was the tractor at the bottom of the embankment, turned upside down.
Well, they get confident because really wide brush hogs will actually keep the tractor
Yeah.
upright. And they rely on that. And they get in a spot where it drops off, or they have a shorter brush hog that day and they pull the same hill.
Most likely this one was doing something it wasn't supposed to be doing because it's on flat ground.
Yeah.
And
Completely.
one thing that you need to know about open station overturns and even with your cab tractors, 95% of your patients, to get where I can point, are going to be from the center of this back tire to this open area right here. If they're under the back tire, they're dead. If they're not under the back tire, they're going to be right in there, and there may be enough room for them to still be alive. So just always kind of remember that they're not going to be on the front end. That's where they're going to come off at. It's been proven time and time again. I have been called to some areas to assist with overturned tractors. It is a very delicate situation. The last one I did was a dozer. And granted, yeah, it was fatal, but they had no idea how to get him out. And so we got him out. But it is a very delicate and a long extrication time.
Airbags. Yeah, I say airbags and cribbing is all you can do.
Tricycle. Everybody know what a tricycle tractor is. I'm sorry. I didn't tell y'all. I apologize. Counterweights. A lot of times we'll have weights on the inside or the outside of the tractor to kind of help keep the tractor from turning over if we're on an incline. This is an amazing factor, especially you brought up the highway department. That's usually where I go with this. 27 degrees is all it takes to turn a tractor over. And we'll see our highway departments out here
45.
sometimes 45 degrees. And like I said, unless you have a body recovery, expect a very long extrication time.
Oh, you feel it coming.
And again, this just says what I just told y'all and showed y'all where your patient's going to be at. Yes, early launch. This is a different type of extrication. I know a lot of us have done extrication for many, many years, and I thought, yeah, just bring me a tractor and I'll turn this thing back over. We'll get this patient over here. No, it don't work that way. This tractor looks like it was probably hit by another vehicle. The way it's bent in the middle with the tires being blown off of it. The front wheel got a heck of an impact on that front wheel. So I would assume that's what this is. I don't know the backstory on it, and I'm sorry, guys. But you can see that was a heck of a lick to do that.
Actually, I need to move that.
Look at the rollover protection system. You know, that's something I try to show. This is an open station tractor with a roof on it to keep him in the shade during the summer. But look how it stopped. And if he would have been thrown free, he would have been underneath that and he'd have been all right.
Or if he had a seatbelt on, he'd still be sitting.
Yeah, if he had a seatbelt on, he'd still be in the seat, possibly.
Possibly.
Don't know how good that would have been for him. This is one of the classes I taught. It's been a long time back. So just kind of give you an idea. One of the best thing you can hope for on an overturned tractor is that you still have tires and wheels intact. Because those are really, really good bite points. Takes a lot of stuff. Takes a lot of stuff. Takes a lot of people. Bring in people. Bring in your fire department, your first responders from all fire departments, because you're going to need them. You're going to get tired. They're going to get tired. This was another one I done off out in the woods on a class. We used a little tricycle international, but just look what it took in cribbing to get that up flush where we could start working on getting the patient out. Just that much cribbing. Look at the cribbing there. I told y'all the patient's going to be either here or where that blood's at. That's where they're going to be. With fractures, you can see chains, you can see propping, you can see all the cribbing, of course. While this rescue was ongoing, there were airbags, there were Hearst tools, all kinds of lifting devices, jacks, floor jacks, anything you can find that can lift. The secret to this is you move an inch, you crib an inch. And I promise you, you will want to do that. Just, and more than anything, for your own protection.
Well, we had a bag fail, and if we wouldn't have been doing that exact same thing, we actually lifted a trailer house off the guy.
Right.
And it would have come back down more than that. It could have done a lot more damage.
Absolutely so.
Was
Absolutely so.
that far from being to the next notch and the bag loose.
Yeah.
It dropped probably about that far back down.
Well, just think, I mean, what if it fell to the ground
Oh,
and you had a patient that was alive? That patient's not alive
he's not
now.
alive anymore. No.
So here's some of the special needs for this.
He's still alive.
No, I know.
Oh,
No,
would've
he was
been.
saying if he wouldn't have been, if it fell, that the trailer wouldn't have.
Oh, he wouldn't have been alive.
Right,
Right.
right.
No,
Was there something that I didn't
No,
know?
he survived. Yeah, he survived. No.
So, everybody kind of laughs when I say at least 2 full trees. Joke. I'm not joking. This will be the most cribbing you will ever see on a scene. I've got an instructor in here. She may want to close her ears, but I'm gonna have mass trousers available. And I still have still have mass trousers. We don't keep them on the truck, we keep them on our rescue.
I bet you have a wooden backboard too.
Yeah, and a stove. But one thing that the reason I use mass trousers, number one, it's an extremity splint. Number two, when I get this tractor off of that patient, most likely we're going to have a shunting issue. We're going to have our IVs because our paramedic has started, 2 14-gauge lines on this patient. But I like the mass trousers effect just to keep me from losing all that blood flow and volume at one time, because it's going to happen.
Bring them back.
So, question,
Yes, ma'am.
you're talking about mass trousers.
Uh-huh.
Say, miraculously, perfect world, you had your IV started before you started manipulation, and you administered TXA. Do you still need mass trousers?
Mhm.
You do?
Yeah, it's a volume issue. In my opinion, I don't know. I've never been in that situation, but just thinking it would be a volume issue, because you're going to be pumping a lot of volume, but also filling lungs now, because you're basically, if it's on the waist or below, you got no blood flow. You have no fluid flow from that point forward, because you've got 25,000 pounds sitting on top of your gut.
Yeah.
And so you're just filling up with fluid here. So now you're going to start having cardiac respiratory issues on top of the trauma. And the moment you lift that up, it's just going to immediately rush to the lower extremities. So that's why I use the mass trousers. Um, and like I say, it's everyone's personal choice. I just know they work from experience, and um, I'm not, this is all I use them on. I don't use them on anything else. But there have
There's
been times I
also-
wished I would have.
I've seen some studies, and I couldn't tell you what kind of looked at. There's studies that they're considering bringing that.
Yes, that is a consideration. We've been discussing that through our protocol committee lately. So we've got some pretty aggressive doctors on it that are, hey, y'all teach us what we need to know about it instead of, back in the day, they just come in, what this crap, rip it off. And so now we've got the youth of our physician family coming in saying, teach us what we need to know about this. This is a very interesting tool that we might be able to use. So that's kind of where we're at with it right now. Again, you're gonna have to hike in, protect yourself. I can assure you, our latex gloves are not going to take care of our hands and stuff while we're dealing with these hot fluids. We do keep leathers on our ambulances.
They stay,
I'm so sorry.
and they stay on your truck.
Yes,
They don't walk off.
they better not with what I pay for them.
Our-
They know
our
that.
stuff grows legs and just walks off on its own.
Yeah,
They
I get it.
tags.
Yeah.
We finally got extrication gloves.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
We
There's
all of our
been a while
employees
coming.
are outfitted. They're personally fit with extrication gear, boots, gloves, helmet, and eye protection. And they're given their own bag. That's where that stuff stays. And if they, I've lost my gloves, that's $185 you just threw away.
Oh,
So let me know when you get you a pair.
We'll
So-
take them out of your check.
Yeah, I don't get that option because I'm government based. So I just tell them, go get you another pair. Here's where you can get them at. Never assume, period. That goes with just about everything we go on. You never know what we're going to come up on. Never try lifting the tractor with another tractor. Never pull on the patient. Never try lifting the tractor without additional resources. In other words, get as many people there as you can. Never think that you can move that tractor by yourself, because you can't. When I do a class, I have a safety officer on each side of the tractor, front, back, both sides. And I have an incident commander who's sitting there like biting at the bit to get involved. And you just have to keep pushing them back. And if somebody says stop, the whole thing stops. And the safety officers are actually in charge of that scene. So, right there, you're going to need 4 first responders at least to help you. You're going to need your rescue team from Salem Fire with their airbags and their jaws and everything that they have to lift with. Another good thing to have is a wrecker service that's not going to hook on to it, but that's going to bring out floor jacks, bottle jacks, any kind of lifting device to get this tractor up. I got ahead of myself a while ago. Sorry. It is a long process, a slow process. Shunning will occur. The return of blood flow usually is what, when you have a live patient, usually is what renders them unconscious. That's pretty cut and dry, guys. ATVs, everybody's got ATVs for the most part. Very few don't. Very few have not ever been on one. So a lot of that stuff's going on. We don't wear helmets. We don't wear any kind of safety junk. We go out there, we get on it, we take off. We run over cows. If they don't want to go on, we'll run into them, push them. I mean, we do stupid things on ATVs. Yay! Y'all go have fun, save a life.
No black tag.
Love you.
No black tag.
That's a new one.
Bye.
Maybe he's run over by a tractor.
It's literally how you, what class you have is what we have that day. Literally.
So
Well,
the ATVs,
I'm
you're
not
going to
looking
get the
at
same injuries as you do with just about anything else.
Do now?
This is a fatal.
Ooh.
He was hung up, I guess, when he rolled over. Usually you can get out from underneath them. Speaking from experience. And if a farmer says, "Oh, I've never turned one of them over," they're lying. I promise you, they're lying. Or they never get off out in the pasture or working cattle with one or moving cattle to a lot with one. UTVs, herbicides, they're in trouble. They just don't know it yet. Heavy, the ATV usually runs about 400 pounds on an average. These will run about 1,200 pounds. And we were fortunate to be the first ambulance service in the state to use ANSEF. We had one of these, gentleman's arm ended up on top. When he rolled over, severed his arm right here. And we started ANSEF. We gripped it before the helicopter got there, actually. And this was way off down south of St. Paul. And they said because we were able to get that ANSEF on board that quick, that he had a 5-day discharge, 5-day shorter discharge because of us doing that with the ANSEF to get that on board, and instead of having to wait till he got to an ER because we had a long transport time. Where I'm at, I'm the second largest county in Arkansas and probably one of the most rural. I have some of the most dangerous roadways in Arkansas, one being the Pig Trail, Highway 23, which runs from Eureka to I-40. And at one point 2 years ago, I had 7 fatalities at one time on that highway. Had to shut that highway down so we can get all the mess cleaned up. That was during a Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue event. So it's a pretty rough area over there. We have a lot of trauma. I never once tell my guys, no, don't fly, transport. You know, it's up to them. They're the one out there dealing with them. Whatever they need to do is what they're going to do, and I'm going to support them 100%. Anyway, moving on. Logging. Yes, it's part of our agriculture. We had 3 causes of death here in Arkansas out of the 54 fatalities. I can assure you Billy Bob's not saying, "Hey, come over here and look." I can assure you there's some 4-letter words coming out of that mouth right there. This is a common practice with loggers. Overturn skidders because of some of the areas they have to go in to pull trees. Usually they're okay because they're in a cage. They just might be beat up, bruised up, maybe a fracture or something. I'm so sorry. Yeah. He just, but most likely it looks like he was trying to move the loader, to be quite honest. And that loader's heavy. But anyway, a lot of times you'll see with these, you'll see chains on their tires. That's because they have no brakes. And sometimes, you know, they're out in mud, junk like that. So chains help them grip a lot easier. You'll notice on the grappler here, there's no paint on the bottom of that because they drop that grappler to slow them down. That's their brake. And I mean, they're coming off of some 60, 70-degree hills with 7, 8 logs behind them. So they'll drop that down on the ground. They'll let the logs slow them down. A lot of times it ends up in bad situations. Log trucks, that's a motorcycle. Don't figure the guy had much success in walking away from that one, other than on a coroner's cot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, coroner's cot, got that one. Don't know. Honestly, it looks like the way the limbs and everything are broken, it looks like a tornado or a windstorm may have caused this injury. I thought at first, when I first saw this picture, that they had used an axe. But they have wedges there. And again, like I say, all the limbs are broken off that pine tree. I don't know anything more than that to tell you all about that picture, but it's just a pretty significant picture to show you. Chainsaws. Everybody got a chainsaw.
No.
Been around chainsaws. One of the most common injuries on a farm or out in the woods, whatever it may be, is not paying attention with that chainsaw, or getting the chainsaw, you've been running for a while and you prop your leg up on a stump, you go to rest your chainsaw on your leg. Yeah, been there, done that. I got a scar right here from that. But pretty common injuries. 95% are males. Because females usually are not the ones on the saw. 11% upper legs. Like that. I wouldn't know that guy. But that's where we get tired, where we get lazy, and we don't realize that, oh my gosh, I need to stop. Because we want to get that wood cut, we want to get into the house, we want to take a shower, we want to sit down and rest. And we go to rest and we set that running chainsaw down on our leg. It's a common practice. Commodity farming, we don't have a lot of that around here. Usually the commonality is equipment being used, but their equipment's a lot bigger than ours. Combine being, unloading corn. You can see this kid, about 12-year-old, they said, just the size of that equipment compared to the little old tractors that we see around here in the fields, just hard to imagine. Usually it's going to involve some kind of hazardous material in some manner. Ask that farmer, what do you do for this? Ask a neighbor, hey, he just got hit with organophosphate. What do I need to do for him? Have you got an MSA, or what's those called? MSDS form for this? You really want to talk to those that know this business to gain your information on how to take care of that patient.
Your MSA thing, you wasn't off on, because you may want to put a respirator on when you're.
You are. I mean,
how fresh the spray was.
She's probably going to laugh at me being an instructor, but when I started, we had to have 30 milligrams of atropine on our ambulance for potential organophosphate poisoning, on top of the 6 milligrams of atropine for code situations. But anyway, we don't have a lot of organophosphate being used anymore. So that's pretty well gone away, and we're fortunate there. Grain-related entrapments. 24 of the entrapments of the 83 are fatal. that were reported, and this was in 22 again. One of the most dangerous occupations in the year over in America. Over 900 cases of brain engulfment have been reported in the last 50 years. Fatality rate 62%, which I figure by now it's quite a bit higher. It just takes 25 seconds for someone my size to be totally engulfed. And actually it'd be probably a little bit quicker because I'm heavier. Deadliest to the rescuers. You never enter a silo without a rope. And you tie your own knot. You don't let Randy tie your knot or Mike tie your knot. You tie your own knot, because if you break loose from your knot, I don't want to be the one responsible because I tied it. That's just old school. That's old school rappelling jump. This is what it looks like. That's corn. It's got enough room for a little bit more, but they're unloading right now. They're unloading this corn because you can see the tornado effect in the center of the silo. So it's going out. You can see he's in a harness with a rope attached. Rappelling harnesses work great. They're a little more expensive because they have rappelling in front of them. But just any type of a shoulder waist harness is good 5-point restraint. This one is was up here in Illinois. Just at 200 emergency workers. That's when I say you can never have enough help. Just for 3 people. This is a portion of what I teach with the Farm Medic program. Is how to get people out. This is an EMT. He's being held by one of the rescuers because he was in here and was engulfed. And when they made the V cut, I usually do a smiley face because I'm a big boy and I want more volume coming out quicker. He come out with it because he wasn't harnessed appropriately. Are they the only patients we have? There was 3 of those kids in there. These are their classmates sitting there waiting to see what happens. So, while we may be sitting here waiting on them, and seeing what the condition is of the patient, don't forget there's people sitting around here we need to go take care of too. And be honest. Be Keith honest. Randy knows I don't pull any punches back. If they're dead, I tell them they're dead. I want that grief process to start as quickly as possible. I may hug their neck, may cry with them, but I'm going to be honest with them and tell them that they're dead. So just keep that in your mind. They don't pass away. People don't understand that. They don't go on. They don't just, their life's over. You tell people understand dead. And again, it allows them to start dealing with the grief process, all 7 stages, quicker. 600 pounds of force. That's a lot of people on the end of that rope pulling in it. So this is, just ignore my little funny pictures. This is what the inside of the silo looks like. You can see in the bottom, you've got your auger spinning around the bottom of the silo. You've got your grain being dispensed out another auger into a truck to be hauled off. So there's 2 working augers inside every silo that's operating. Silos are operating. Lockout tagout's a very common word used, or words used on a farm silo operation like this. And you'll find on that power supply out there, you may find 7 or 8 different locks because Energy will have one, the farmer will have one, neighbor will have one, gas company may have one, people that own the grain will have one, people that work on the augers will have one.
We should.
So there's potential for there to be 5 or 6 locks hanging on that power supply. Make sure there's one on there before you do anything. Like I say, I use a smiley face. Thank you. But you know, they're entrapped up here. I go above the auger and I make my cut, and I use an air chisel because I don't want an explosion. And the grain comes out, and so does Joe Bob, or blue man, whatever you want to call him. But always remember, you don't want gas operated, you don't want electrical operated, air operated if you have to cut into one of those, because they will explode.
Grain dust is more flammable than gasoline.
Absolutely. So exposure. It's usually to the skin. A lot of it's respiratory, but most common stuff in Arkansas is to the skin. And that came from Riceland.
There's many excellent here.
Yes.
We've got 6 silos.
Mhm.
I've got one at the house actually that I use for my ground feed for my cattle. And it's got a 2 foot by 2 foot hole on top with a lid on it. And a lot of my grain, because I use a sorghum finish feed for my butcher cattle, a lot of my grain will stick to the side. So I have to open the top up and get a broom or something to knock it down off the side. So that stuff's expensive.
Mhm.
1.1 billion pounds of pesticides are used each year just here in the U.S. Most of it's here in the Delta region, just east of here. Mississippi, Arkansas, Kentucky, Illinois. I'll say it. You never get back into your ambulance until that patient has been completely removed from the chemical. In other words, they're going to be naked. Leave their clothes behind. You can put them in a red bag if you want to. Don't put them in your truck. You got to protect yourself before you can do anything else for a patient. Become familiar with your resources. Like I said, ask neighbors, get your MSDS sheets. Most of your neighbors are very familiar with the chemicals that are being used. Heat injuries, rehydrate your patient, basically.
Oh,
Again, farmers are going to shrug off stuff. They're going to get mad if you're going to stick them with a needle.
Chris just changed the window from Little Rock. He's picking up that truck.
Oh.
It's ready.
and I laughed at yesterday.
Mhm.
Did you go on that one?
Again, farmers, it's necessary to be a great persuader.
I laughed.
Well, I hope they're cold.
Cold weather, we still got stuff to do. We got to feed cows, we got to break ponds. So the risk for us getting frostbite is there. Depends on, what we're going through. If your wife has to have the house at 85 degrees, you're going to have to go cut more wood. So, there's all kinds of things that we're going to be doing in the wintertime. Yes, absolutely. Expose, remove it all. Again, they're going in your truck naked, wrapped in multiple layers of whatever you've got. Do a full body assessment. Eyelids and earlobes are one of the first things to freeze off on a patient. Warm IV fluids. I know we use defrosters on our ambulances. I've got IV warmers on my trucks that stay unplugged most of the time. But try to get warm fluids in them if you can. And ultimately, anything's better than nothing. Certain health issues can cause more problems with your cold and heat related patients. Diabetes, heart, high blood, and in certain meds. Good old cases of frostbite, they lose those. I doubt they were able to save any of those just by guessing. Don't know the full outcome of the story. If you've never dealt with frostbite, it stinks. It has a very distinct odor you won't forget. Digit safety. That's what it looked like. One of the best things for men and women that ever come out was the
Silicone ring.
silicone rings. It's one of the best things in the world. I still wear mine's titanium and gold, but I do have a silicone ring if I'm going to be out about messing with stuff. Most of the time I just take mine off and leave it at the house, but I do have silicone. I'm going to be, Randy calls me, needs help. I'm probably going to throw it on, go help. Gloves, leather, lined if necessary. That means with Sherpa or whatever it may be on the inside. Adequate layers. Don't get cold. Be aware of your surroundings. Personal protective equipment when you're working with chemicals. No loose clothing, free of strings, tatters, like I said earlier. Caution if you're a smoker. Solid rubber sole boots. Wonder why that. You never know where there's electricity. So muck was one of the best things ever invented for those of us in the farming industry. This is why. This is one of my patients the other day. He had on two big gloves and was bending steel. He's a welder. And y'all know how that wheel turns when you try to bend and maneuver your steel. It caught his glove and pulled his hand through the wheel. That's what we got. He went to Lexington for treatment. Hopefully they'll be able to save it. I haven't heard any. I mean, this is like very recent. I was able to throw it in, come over. But haven't heard an outcome on him yet.
Is that your hand? Right?
I'm sorry?
That's your hand?
I don't know.
They need to wash their hands.
Wasn't mine. It was his actually. He was holding
Some
that.
dirt up underneath them fingernails.
Well, they do, don't they? I didn't
Yeah.
even notice that. They don't let me play too much, but again, typical same treatment modalities as just about anything else. On-scene physician, man, don't hesitate to tell Airback 12, hey, bring me a doc over here from Mountain Home. It's something that bad, especially on tractor overturn, when you're going to be on scene for a lengthy period of time. That doc over here and puts all of the responsibility on his shoulders on what you do. I grew up with med flight. I got spoiled. So we always had a doc on scene when
Yeah,
we called
Schultz
them.
coming over.
Oh, we haven't even considered it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'd be our only one from right here.
Uh-huh.
Block mine.
Well, she might. Oh, most of that helicopter out here is good enough.
Animals, machinery. Is that the only thing we need to be aware of? People, absolutely. Absolutely. But you ever think about the plants that we're walking into when we're hiking into these patients, or stinging nettles? Absolutely. Very common in Arkansas. They're everywhere. Everywhere. I pull them up across my farm. As soon as I see one, I'll pull it up, and I'll have 7 more grow back in this place. So this kind of identifies that particular plant. They have like a hypodermic needle on their stem, so it's going to poke you, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to sting, and it's going to really cause an irritation. They're lance-shaped leaves with coarse serrated edges, just like that. Looks like a lot of stuff we grow in the garden. They have little flowers. Once they reach maturity, they'll have little white speckled flowers come out.
Oh, yeah. They call something different.
This is what the stem looks like up, under a microscope. So you can see all the little needles that are going to poke into your skin and cause pain and irritation. This is a female. Females are a lot worse than males. And people have laughed at me because this is a lot like a marijuana plant. The female plant is where they harvest all the buds, and the male plant's just there to produce, whatever the female plant needs to help it grow. I'm not, the chemistry, it's there. If you want it, I'll be glad to email it to you, whatever. You can pull it off of the recording. It's just a bunch of stuff. I'm not big into chemistry. I graduated in 1983 and forgot all that stuff. Signs and symptoms, you'll have burning, tingling, red, white bumps, lot like a bee sting, and it can last for up to about 24 hours. That's what it's going to look like. And just think about the treatment on this. Just cool water, flush that you might be able to tell them to use, some Benadryl cream, something like that. Another spot on the back of that leg. So that's what you're going to deal with it. And again, it lasts about 24 hours. Apply cool compresses and the whole 9 yards. Oral antihistamines, topical corticosteroids. Anaphylaxis is very rare because once you get it one time, you'll not ever get back in it again. So, poison hemlock.
Oh, that's what I was.
They're along they look alike, very much so. Every part of this plant is bad for you. The flower, the stem, the leaf, the root, it's all bad stuff. It was used by the Greeks to execute people. Does anyone know the famous person in Greek mythology that was executed by hemlock?
I should.
I'm sorry?
I should. I don't know.
Well, it would be Socrates. There you go. There's one for class.
Yeah.
It resembles Queen Anne's lace. There's one difference between it and Queen Anne's lace, and I'll show y'all here in just a second. It has a white root hollow stem with purple splotches. Stinks terribly. Grows 2 to 10 foot. Umbrella-shaped clusters. Fern-like leaves that resembles parsley. So don't go out there and pluck it thinking, hey, I got parsley growing wild, because it does look like it. Each flower develops into a green ribbed fruit that contains a seed. So you got them growing in your hay field and you mow through it, guess what?
No.
That's what they look like. Not a lot of difference in that and in the stinging nettle, to be quite honest, except for the purple. This is still young; it hadn't flowered yet. So, but again, they're all over Arkansas. Like I said, there's your purple stem blotches. Stinks. No antidote or cure. That's what sucks. You get into it, you get it in your mouth, you're done. I mean, we can treat secondary symptoms, but we can't actually treat the poison.
We need to hog farm.
Send them a bouquet.
Here's some of your signs. I mean, of course, the same. A lot of the primary signs are the same things we're going to see with drug overdoses. You have to stop and realize that. I mean, your meth heads, sorry, I use that terminology, but that's what I call them. We're going to have the same type of primary sign and symptom. Your opioids, secondary, primary, they got tachycardia, secondary, they got bradycardia. Hypertension on primary, hypotension. So you can see them going into renal failure, basically, is what you're seeing on their secondary signs and symptoms. Oh, it's even listed there. So, Queen Anne's lace is very similar to what we just looked at, poison hemlock. It grows all over Arkansas.
I've heard of that. I haven't heard of it.
It's white umbrella shaped patterns. They bloom purple, red flowers in the center. It's the only difference that you will actually know. Queen Anne's lace, see, they have the little prickly stems. They hurt. They'll cause it skin irritation, but there's nothing poisonous about that. The only difference is this in the center of Queen Anne's lace, between that and your hemlock. It'll have a red or reddish purple flower in the very center of the bloom. That's the only way you can differentiate. Nobody famous was killed with Queen Anne's lace. There's a real close-up look of one of the buds that shows that reddish purple spot in the center. That's what it looks like in the field. Like I say, they're all over Arkansas.
But does it smell too?
No. Well, I mean, it does. It just has a common grassy smell to it, not an odor. Coming up on the end of this, I know y'all are excited. Rely on your first responders and your neighbors for assistance. I just cannot and will not ever stress that enough. Potential for you to be on scene for hours. Something that we have to remember. We may have to be the ones left there to tell that family that patient's dead. And it sucks. It's terrible, but we got to do it. Somebody owes them enough respect to do that. Nothing is the same. I've been doing this, like I said, almost 45 years now, and I don't think I've ever seen the same thing twice. I have, I forgot it, thank God. That's it, guys. Any questions on anything that we've covered so far? Are y'all done with me, or y'all want me to go through one more?
Another one.
Yeah.
Can we go through one more? I got one I think it might benefit us.
Yeah.
It's not farm related.
That's fine.
I do appreciate y'all being here.
We'll go ahead
Thanks
and
for
call it a
coming.
break for
Hold on.
now.
Yeah, y'all can take a break because it'll take me a minute to get in here.
Yeah, let me just have it interesting.
Today, we're going to talk about use or abuse, and it's not a drug situation that we're talking about. Is it okay if I sit for a minute? Is that all right with y'all? Good deal. Use or abuse. Every day there's something new in our world of EMS. Every day, something new. From the cost of ambulances to what we put on our ambulances to cardiac monitors. I mean, I just bought 3 LifePak 35s and holy crap.
35.
Yeah.
You're up to 35?
Yeah, these are the
Yeah.
brand new ones.
We got happy with 15.
Oh, so LifePak 35s are the new ones that Physio come out with. They are about this wide, about that tall. They weigh less than, I'd say they're under 10 pounds.
Well, maybe you wouldn't break
Um,
your arm.
They have built-in modems, so you can immediately, I mean, I have to buy modems for my 15s to send in 12 leads. So these are already built in. Modems are provided by Stryker or by Physio. I bought a 9-year protection plan for all 3 of them. $233,000 for the 3, and we're excited to have them. We were the first ambulance service to have the Power Pro 2 cot, and I highly recommend that for anyone. It's so easy, and then out here in the middle of the night, you're out here walking through yards and stuff. You got that little light on the end of each cot, or on the ends of each end, help you see where you're walking. It's got a handle that pulls out and goes up, so you can actually just drag your patient along the ground, not have to lift them at all. It'll shorten.
Of course it is.
Um,
You see those
We had an issue. It's the reason I bought them was I couldn't get my cots in the elevator without standing them up on their end. And if y'all been in elevators, y'all know what I'm talking about. So I threw a fit and said, okay, why didn't y'all come measure my cot before you built your elevators at our school? And anyway, now we have every truck with a Power Pro 2 on it. We have the Expedition stair chairs, which I have learned is an excellent tool to get a patient up out of a ditch with. The Expedition, have y'all seen those?
I got the track.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's the one
you
that
just push a
doesn't-
button and hold on, because here we go.
Yeah, they prototype. Okay.
There's no more pulling, tugging, carrying. You just push a button. There's 3 different speeds on it, and it takes off.
But we actually declined. Yeah.
It's 70, right at 70,000 a piece,
Yeah.
and that's with warranty.
Right.
We did do that once.
It was like this.
It was ridiculous.
We
That was an ATV.
we use the big trucks. We use Ford F550 4-wheel drives with the extra long. I can put 9 people working a code in the back of the truck with plenty of room. And
Well, okay, we could do that in the princess. Princess truck, yeah, not what we have.
so anyway, moving on. I'm sorry, I just got off on a tangent. I'm sorry out there in La La Land. We have moved forward to new levels, and we do that every day. Are we where we want to be? If we answer that with yes, we need to resign. Are we going the direction we want to be going? If we answer yes, we need to get out of it. Are we making full use of our assets? I can assure you we are not. Is the paramedic making all the patient care decisions? Better not be. What are we missing in this? Huh? Nothing. We can't really come up with anything. What about our first responder? Let's talk about them, guys. Are we paying the attention to them that we need to toward, are we paying the attention to those that are first in? Or are we just going in and getting the paperwork from them if they give us paperwork
I'm standing back and go back to the front.
and
Bring them out when you're ready.
getting the patient, asking our own questions of the patient? Or are we asking questions of them and making sure they're involved? What you have to remember is every time you see a first responder on scene, they paid to be there. Money in their vehicle, the gas in their vehicle, their time away from their family. They pay to be there. Or are we abusing them?
We'll be back talking, I do.
Not your personal one, we're talking about in general.
Are they cop fetchers, equipment toters?
Not here.
Do they get to do mouth to mouth while you dig around for a BVM?
Usually they have the BVM already in.
Yeah.
Do you send them to the truck to try to find the sterile fallopian tube?
I've got one that I do.
Yeah.
He's
Is he still there?
We use 2x4.
Yeah. Yeah. Or are we listening to what they tell us? Are we gathering the information they diligently worked on prior to our arrival? And I can say that because I'm out there somehow, Randy knows, 45 minutes to an hour sometimes before they roll in. So I've had a lot of time to spend with that patient.
Not the one where you roll up in the fire department.
I hope not. I mean, we do have those, and I'm familiar with those.
One thing about around. Great.
Absolutely so.
Tasia, me, a couple others have taught most of our responders, and we know the ones we can trust.
Absolutely so.
Pay attention.
And I'm going to show y'all some stuff, some ideas I have.
I've seen a significant increase from the time that Thomas did that first EMR up there at the Higginbotham building to us.
Yep.
The progression in their
They're
patient
wanting the
care.
knowledge. They're wanting.
Absolutely. They will eat it alive. Do we know who we're talking to?
Yes.
Most times, yes.
Are we treating everyone as professionals?
You bet.
I know y'all are, but I mean, these are just questions we need to remember to ask ourselves. They're under scrutiny. I mean, just like us, we just scrutinize some, and I'm just as guilty as the next person. Every one has that one agency that's determined a person. I'm sorry. No one stepped up. I'm very familiar. Senate Bill 13, 2011. The Arkansas Fire Academy did step up and they offer a 40-hour class. Arkansas Department of Health will not. And anyway.
At the battle right now, National Registry, NAEMT versus Arkansas Fire Academy, the do's and don'ts of first responders irritates the fire.
But what set me into writing Senate Bill 13 was, I had a class over here that would teach 20 hours, had a class up here that would teach 160 hours, class over here that'd go 40. Nothing was consistent across the board on the information we were providing. And, you know, I might be out here teaching people, first responders, how to intubate, and nobody says I couldn't.
I've been impressed with Fire Academy since I started. I became trained.
Right.
Even the ladies down there, they are all willing to give us all the information, all the training information. Yeah.
You're in good shape here.
Fire Academy was crazy with EMR.
Yeah.
20 more hours and you can go to EMT school.
Mhm.
So that's when they started the first aid provider class.
Well,
which is what first
that's-
responder EMR used to be.
Right. And I went in front of the Board of Health with that, and because I met so much opposition from the health department. And of course, that was when Marvin was alive, and I love Marvin to death. He was a great mentor for me. And he said, no, we're not going to entertain a first responder program. And they all, okay, yeah, we're all in agreement with whatever Marvin says. It's okay. Well, I'm going to go back to my community and I'm going to teach my guys how to start a line. I can buy these stuff off the internet all day long. And I'm going to go ahead and get me a Mac, or actually a Miller, I think is what I said, because that was my preference. But I'm going to go ahead and get me a Miller and some ET tubes from Henry Schein. I can develop an account. You can't tell me I can't do that. I said, thank y'all for your time. And I turned to walk out and never got to the door until it was like, whoa, 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 whoa. But that was the final decision, was to go with the fire academy because of the cost associated. Even though I built in the cost Act 833, where the fire departments could pay for it through 833 program, and it not ever cost anyone anything. And but anyway, that's been a while back. We've got to, which I know I'm preaching to the choir here, guys. They are the future of our business. And if we don't, I mean, we're losing, 20-25% of our population in EMS every year. They're not relicensing. They're going into nursing, they're going into truck driving, they're going into mowing yards, whatever it may be, but they're not getting back on that ambulance.
Well, and too, especially here, we've got so many that's coming over from Baxter. We have what, 4 or 5, and they're not familiar with the area.
Right.
And so, your first responder is just going to know Bob Smith.
Yeah, they're going to know him by name, or they're going
Yeah.
to remember where that barn was that burned down
Yeah,
back in
and they're going to know
72.
they had a cardiac history. They're going to remember they had a heart attack 5 years ago and went out.
Absolutely. Again, we forget sometimes that they are not being paid to do this, and that they're doing this for their care for their community and their respect for you guys and for that patient that we're all going out there to treat. So I put this together a few years back, guys. So it's been a little bit since I've run through it, but I thought, man, what an opportunity. Which, I mean, like I say, you guys are all over it. I know that for a fact. How do we improve this relationship? Because there are some areas that do have bad relationships with the first responders. I came to Madison County. I might have had 40 across the whole county. Now we're at about 300. So what we put into place has actually worked for us.
How many did we have on our last one?
Here's some, y'all throw out some ideas that y'all might do. I know what I did and I know it worked. And COVID kind of hurt me a little bit, but it wasn't just me, it hurt the whole state.
Everybody does it, but Tasia last year started, our Christmas cookie deal, and we go to all fire departments.
Delivering cookies to all of them. That's awesome. That's awesome.
They were bringing the containers back, asking for more.
Yeah.
Next year.
Well, I know our department really appreciated it. So we had our little get together for Christmas. I took them up there.
Good.
And they read the card.
Thank you.
We all appreciate it. And even the float trips and stuff like that, if we can get them on. Any interaction outside of work with EMS and fire.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely important.
Nobody showed up though.
We all have our own CPR trainers.
Fire department was.
Go out and teach that CPR class. My service, I pay for all CPR cards. I don't let them first responders pay for it. They're kind enough to go through the class and learn it. I'm kind enough to pay for it.
Okay. There's something.
Somebody needs to be teaching them legal. We also need to talk to them about the terminology that we're using. Do they know what distal, proximal,
Well, they don't like that.
supine? Do they know what these terms mean?
No, I don't know how to do that.
Do they have a copy of your protocols?
That they do.
That's
Well,
We don't
something.
have a.
Well, we're in limbo right now going to Baxter, so none of us have.
That's something I did. I give them a copy of my protocol so they know what I'm going to do when I get there on that patient.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
And it works well. My guys are prepped. They know they know when I bring my bag in, they're going to need to grab an IV and a drip set or a flush, whatever it may be. And I don't have to tell them.
So the only issue with that, with us going to Baxter, and this come from Buddy, so it's.
Oh,
a Buddy.
sorry.
Yeah,
Good gospel.
so they don't, I mean, we're doing it because we don't have the capability right now, but they're doing digital protocols where they can go in and manipulate it and change it when necessary.
Well, y'all come on over. We'll get you on ours. We're at the Northwest area or Northwest Arkansas protocol. And we have this little thing here.
So
You get it to open up.
do you have manual copies too?
Oh, yeah.
Do you?
It's 139 pages. My protocols are 139 pages, but every one of my employees has our protocols on their phone.
I'm saying this in front of you.
And they
You
can
don't
look up
have
anything they want to
hard
look up.
copies, do you?
Every new paramedic that comes with me. gets a
Yeah.
hard copy.
Okay, but you still have just the digitals on your truck. That is just insane to me. That's
Well, we,
insane.
Every time I get a new paramedic, I fight Chris for it, but I'm telling him, Chris, what's my phone dead? What that laptop dead?
Oh, I know who you, never mind.
You're my brother.
I gotta be quiet, Randy. Ain't no relation to me. Anyway,
He kind of looks.
you beginning to look, so I'd be careful over there.
This is by choice.
Oxygen therapy. Are we, I mean,
tell all these new paramedics, you know, in a hurry, you know the other name for burst head? You know, off the top of your head?
Yeah.
I mean.
teach them. I mean, that's something they
Yeah, but
could,
I mean, if you're in a hurry, I mean, you. can
Yes,
put your own note-
absolutely.
You can put your own notes in front of that book.
Yeah.
you absolutely can.
Um,
And
but yeah,
we'll be glad to take y'all on board. It costs nothing. I'm sorry, it does. It costs $300 a year to be a member of the Northwest area protocols because I think we're up to 23 ambulance services that are on our protocol list. And it's growing continuously.
Pete, you remember when we had the North Arkansas
Yes,
First Responder Association?
Miss Millie.
Dave Merkel.
Yeah, Merkel. That's right. Oh, yeah. Old names.
Once a
And it
month,
all-
we would go and
Teach.
teach them.
They've been there, done that. Both of us have. I know.
It seems like these newer people that's come into Baxter. all in a way.
Well, we deal with an ego issue.
You know,
And I mean, I say that
you're
about
talking Nancy Allen.
y'all know I'm not a bit afraid to say that you're egotistical to your face when you're egotistical. And
You said more
it's just how I am. That's how I've always been. And I hope I die that way because I feel like honesty is the only thing that'll ever change anything.
We got fire departments now that respond to certain people. That's sad.
Yeah, I can relate. My fire department,
Yeah, last time I've been to Bruno, the first responders.
you won't see us there. We had a major incident with the ambulance service there, and it was not handled appropriately on their side. Our first responder said, "If this is how we're going to be treated, I'm not going back."
Was it a
Now
newer medic?
I'm sorry.
Was it a newer medic?
No. It was actually the EMT that caused the issue to the point of running one of our first responders off the road. I don't mind telling you. Because our first responder had their flashers on and was escorting them. I mean, they didn't pull to the right to get out of the way of the ambulance because where they were going was have a hard place to find. My community, we got some out of spot areas.
Yeah, close to Terry Moore.
So my first responder decided, well, I'll just lead the ambulance.
Terry Moore.
Well, they just got right up on her rear end, and hitting their horn, changing the siren, and all of that, and the first responder thought something was wrong with their vehicle. So they pulled over, and then the EMT and the medic both out the window and got on the PA and was screaming at her at the first responder. And first responder said, "The heck with it, go have good luck finding your address."
Turn around, go home.
Well, it ended up being a patient that needed to be flown. So in my neighborhood, we have our own helipad. And it's designated with all the helicopters to land at that one particular place, so we don't have to set up LZs. We always send someone in to make sure the gates are open and the helicopter lands safely if there's any issues. So when the ambulance got there, they proceeded to jump that first responder and tell them how terrible a person she was. I'm sorry, that first responder was, and that she needed to get out of the way of that ambulance. That ambulance was a lot more important than she was. And okay, so it was my wife.
Yeah.
And my wife was trained by me, and she knows her business, takes excellent care of the patients, and she wants to help the community. That's what we do. And they just run her. We attempted to get it taken care of, proper steps, and I'll not throw names out, but we were basically told to go to hell. That their people would never do anything like that. So, but we do have the recording of the particular EMT cussing us from. I was the one she was cussing as well, and she didn't know me. And I don't know, Mike and Randy know my history. I've got quite a history, and I have a lot of respect across Arkansas and the nation with some of the things I've done. And you know who you're dealing with. That's one of the reasons that question's on that slide. But there's no place in our profession, that's what I'm trying to get to, for that. We can have a very normal conversation if we see something being done wrong, and use it as a teaching moment, not as an anger issue. And but anyway, the employee still works for Baxter Regional. I'm sorry.
Baxter Health.
I'm sorry.
Baxter Health.
Okay, that too. But
Plus.
B plus.
Well, you know,
that's what cut the response.
I was with.
That's why we're not an A. Gosh, down.
Once, and he shoved who he thought was just a neighbor out of the way, turned out to be Dr. Cook.
Oh my God.
Yeah, oops.
Yeah,
And Dr. Cook, what didn't respond as Dr. Cook, he responded as Jim.
Yeah,
So if you didn't know he was Dr. Cook, you just knew he was Jim, first responder out in Rodney.
We went to call up the church Sunday morning, and there was a doctor there that was with the patient. And as I introduced myself, of course, he introduced himself freshly, and of course, he said, "This is what I need." Okay. But
Yeah.
you know, I would have never just said, "Get out of the way." Without asking who you are, what can I do to help?
There's some different people in our business.
That's when you say, I'm gonna go look for that sterile
That's right.
fallopian tube.
With the way they're and I can assure you that won't happen here with the current administration that y'all have worked for with Tim. I know Chris Urkel fairly well. If he steps up into that position, or whomever it may be, I know that there will always be professionalism come out of this place. I applaud everyone that works here for that. Medical community is becoming more and more receptive to the first responders. Physicians, they're willing to go that extra mile. They're willing to come and teach. You'll ask them, give them a topic to come in and talk. Tell them to bring it down to a street level.
Dumb it down.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I get it.
We delivered a baby in Hugo's back seat.
Was it Hugo?
Mm-hmm. And his wife had just got that car. We spent
He
3
said,
hours
"Yeah."
scrubbing the back seat at the station to get it clean so he could take
There
it
it
home.
is, Max. And it's our fault. You know, and y'all know, you two especially, if they stink, I'm gonna tell them, you stink, go home, take a shower.
I would hope so.
Sometimes
Tell
they
me
just
if there
need
was
to
something
hear
like
that. I'm not being a mean person, I'm not being hard on them, but their body odor is offensive to everyone on the scene. They need to know that.
Randy and I had one up in Mammoth, love her to death. We had to tell her to go back to her car several times and put on an appropriate shirt because she would show up in a bikini
But,
top.
oh my, yeah,
And
or barefooted, that's, oh yeah. But they're all eager to learn. They are really eager to learn. And they're gonna go that extra step with their communities, especially where they live, it's their neighbors. You never know who you may encounter on the scene. It could be a doctor, like you said, Jim Cook, Barbara Ash. She responded over at Hilltop. It's Barbara, it wasn't Dr. Ash. It could be a mayor, an attorney.
We had that truck driver who talked.
Absolutely, absolutely. It could be maybe somebody that's been in it a long, long, long time, has a lot of connections. But you never know. You never know who you're going to be talking to out there. So that's why we always act. And I don't see a lot. And it's so heartbreaking to be in a profession that has turned to that.
a lot of that too, Keith, I think comes from, EMS has always been the Baxter children.
Oh yes, we are. We're the babies. We're the infants of medicine, and we'll always be the infants of medicine. But when we want to grow, we're going to meet resistance.
Yep.
And
It stayed so far behind basic few things. I can go to Oklahoma and I can start a line.
Yeah.
I go to Mississippi and start a line. In Arkansas, I can, hey.
right,
You know?
it's up to us to make these changes too. It's not up to anyone else. It's our own fault. You know? I mean, I've got a training officer set here in this class today, and media. Oh well, yeah, I'll work out myself. Media is our friend. I remember back in the '80s when we were going through the gang wars, we were trying to run.
Yeah.
And we did, but I had one that worked for a local news station down there that was like 6'8", 350, and I told him I'd get him all the news footage he wanted. Just that big light on that camera. So he put the light on not record until I told him it was okay, so we could see how what we were working on in the alleyways and behind homes and stuff like that on those junk. And it wasn't that way from the beginning, but now they're our friends. So contact your newspaper, give it your fire chief, pick out a first responder each week. I don't know, I'm sure you'll have a weekly.
We did that a few years ago, not in the paper.
Introduce them. How are these people going to know that he's a first responder when he shows up at their house? So if they haven't seen it in the paper, if it hasn't been advertised that he's a first responder, I mean, it's real simple for somebody just to walk in and say, "Hey, I'm with Salem Fire Department, I'm here to help," and rob them blind.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's a great morale builder. I mean, it's really good for the department and the first responder. It helps them get their interest back into doing what they're doing. I have a first responder appreciation day.
You made it.
Sorry, Mike. We bring them all together. I bring them all together, and it's not mandatory. If you have time, you want to come by. I'm smoking 2 briskets, 4 pork butts, 6 chickens, and all the trimming. Y'all come on by. And I usually have a physician come in and talk about something. Mike Hillis is excellent to work with. He's out of Mercy and Rogers. I think he's the medical director for like 13 ambulance services. So he's really good to come in and talk. His wife's the same way. I'll speak, and then I make one of my guys get up and talk about patient care, either medical or health or trauma related, or how to apply a traction splint, how to use the new cot or the stair chair, and put the responsibility back on the employees, because that's when they're going to see it. They're not going to see me unless I get to sneak out and not tell anybody, but they're going to see these employees out there, and to hear them share that wealth of knowledge that they have, it really resonates in their mind when they show up on scene. Professionalism. They're on wall. 2 years. I'll be the first to throw walls on the wall. I've been angry. I get mad. I've been through the middle. I know it's really hard to believe. This is how it's defined, Mr. Webster would say. Everybody that sees us, we're driving a rolling billboard out there.
Yeah, our mayor reminds us.
I'm so sorry.
The mayor reminds us that too.
Yeah,
Which is good.
It's a rolling billboard.
Yeah, we're the face, I mean.
Face of the community, especially you guys.
Yeah.
Everybody here is that fire truck.
Yeah, we get compliments, and then if something wasn't exactly right after each board meeting that might have been, I'm not sure exactly, the city council meeting, we get a report on what the community thinks of our park for that last month.
This professionalism starts when the phone rings. I mean, there's an attitude on the phone.
Yes.
Mm.
With our
Or are
dispatch,
they
yes.
going to be professional and follow the EMD cards if you have EMD?
Nope.
And or are they going to treat you like crap? Oh, you're bothering me. I can't believe you called 911.
Mm-hmm.
So it ends when they come in to make that final payment. Example, I'm the boss. I don't mind saying it. I don't act like a boss. Randy, I'm not a boss. Everybody I work for is a boss. But the lady come in here, she was unable our service was unable to revive her husband. 68 years. And the insurance paid all but $100. She come in with tears down her face. I guess I paid my husband's last bill. And I just wrote Boyd across that check, give it back to her. I said, that's, and that'll stay with her and with her family for the rest of their lives. That we were kind enough, instead of saying, oh, well, that's not enough, I'm going to turn you over to collections. That's where I came into this company. It was, oh, we're going to turn you all over to collections. I stopped it. I started accepting $1 a month because I have people living on $355 a month Social Security. So when I done that, and I started respecting them, making that $1 a month payment, or $5, whatever it may be, and let them feel good about themselves. But then I'm not jeopardizing their groceries or their daily way of life that they may have on that minimum income. It completely turned our financials around. I mean, we went from $1 million in the red to last year I was 1.4 in the black, just in collections alone. So, I mean, people start respecting that when you respect them. And like I say, it's the responsibility of all of us. It's not just those of us out here in the truck. Everybody in that house. Dispatch they play the most vital role, really, because that's the first thing that you're going to hear when you have that emergency, and that's from this point forward. it's hard sometimes, those dispatchers, and I'm not here to defend them, but it's hard when you have getting calls out there, and you've got 4 911 calls waiting, nobody to give them to. It gets really stressful, and it's really hard to be calm when that phone rings again with another 911 call. Whatever happened to being tucked in? Here I am. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sitting with my shirt untucked because I'm fat. Whatever happened to tying our shoes before we go on call? And I just mentioned the hygiene issue earlier.
They have zippers now.
I'm sorry.
So we have zippers now.
Oh, y'all fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Simple boots, have black
Yeah.
ones. But,
My shirts, every time I raise my hand, they come undone.
yeah. But you make that effort,
Mhm.
and that's the important thing. You make that effort. Yes, we were. I can assure you, as one of the founders of Promises. I don't know that against me, but it was a hard time for us. Got to be aggressive. Just sitting back, fiddling around, playing around. You got to be aggressive. Don't keep your mouth shut. If you see changes you want to have made, make them verbal. It's our own fault. Like I said, it's our own fault.
Like
Because
a
we're becoming complacent in our world.
squeaky, let's say squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yep.
Make a lot of noise, don't fix it.
Why are they being looked at harder? to your iPods or whatever those things are called.
I appreciated your honesty the other day on the radio when you were telling Granville, I guess it was Allison, you said, I just grabbed the wrong bag and I don't have any assessment tools with me.
And I did, I left my crap sitting in the memo.
Yeah, how many times have we asked for a patient update? Oh, well, I haven't,
Yeah, I'm getting at it, I'm not doing
Yeah.
it yet.
I'm not
I
finished,
got the wrong
yeah,
bag.
7 or 8 minutes later, they finally get back to you.
The one on.
If they get back to you.
Morrison
Yeah.
Road, is it?
You know,
Good
it's
ma'am.
Oh,
it's really hard on these folks that want to help their communities when they sit there and they work up a type of patient care sheet narrative of what they've done, what the pressures were, and all their vital signs and history. And you hand that to the crew that gets there and they just wind up throwing it under the head of the car and never look at it again. That is so disrespectful. My guys, and I'm different, my crews have to scan a sheet in if they have first responders into their ESO. That changed everything for us. When they get handed a sheet, as long as it's legible, I mean, and it's on we have forms that we give them, but as long as they give us that form is entered into ESO. One of the biggest things, not only does it gather all the patient information, when I go to bill Medicare, Medicaid, I've got everything from the scene, and I'm collecting 92% of what I bill, as opposed to most services collecting 35 to 42. I'm at 92%. So it's just been a big boost, not only for the first responder, but my gosh, what a help it's been for me. And it's our job. It's our job. Do we? Randy does, I know. I can't talk bad about that. I talk bad about Randy all the time, but I can't talk bad about him not explaining what's going on, being very polite. You might both, and I'm sorry, I'm sure all of y'all do. I've worked with him, so it makes it a little easier for me to pick on.
Yeah, big nice on that.
Are you sitting up in the cabin seat on the way to the hospital, or are you sitting there beside the patients so you can see them?
Seatbelt's better there.
Seatbelt's better there?
Yes, it is.
And if they stop breathing, granted, we're fortunate today to have the tools to see if they stop breathing.
Well, a critical patient, yeah, will be sitting on the bench seat.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. But you know, you need to be able to see them and talk to them. And I'm a hand holder. I mean, I was raised in old school ways where that's a lot of times that's all we're gonna do is hold their hand on the way to the hospital. I'll kneel down the floor and I'll talk to them. I've said final prayers in the back end of the ambulance. I've said final prayers in wadded up vehicles. And, you know, it's up to that patient on how I'm going to treat them. Am I doing something wrong?
No.
Okay.
These 4 medics that are sitting in here are the one that I work with most of the time too. They do talk to their patients.
Absolutely.
They're always checking on them and, you know, hey, you okay? Need anything? Sometimes I think they're talking to me. I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'm up here.
Yeah, good. What do you want? Well, you know, and the thing is, we're talking about some of our first responders too. They want to know that knowledge.
Yes.
They want to know, well, why are you starting that IV? Why aren't you just starting a saline route? Or why are you giving that drug? What's that for?
Wait, I pull them in the back. If
Yeah.
they can get a blood sugar or
Absolutely
line
so.
run or
Help you in any manner, whatever you can get out of them.
or everything at once. You want to tell your experience as a double medic?
Something I have always stood by.
It's awkward.
is
Hey, good, okay. Oh, never mind, you did, good.
treat this patient as if it's your wife or your mom or dad, some of your immediate family laying there. That's how I want that patient treated. Document true and factual. Document true and factual. Document true and factual. Document true and factual. I wonder how important that is. been to court. Your day's coming. Leave your 24-hour sheet hospital. I mean, granted, this is an older, like I say, this is an older presentation when we had to leave paperwork at the hospital instead of doing it all back.
We still
We still have to leave the paper copy.
Okay,
He's like, wow, y'all are really behind.
we do outcomes on ESO, which allows us to share our PCR with the hospital. And the hospital shares their treatment modalities with the patient we brought with us. So I get to see what the lab values are. I get to see what the radiologist says about their CT. My crew gets to see it. You know, they need to know what they did for that patient turned out to be okay, or if they should have done something different. We use it as a teaching mode, in a teaching model. They don't much care for it because I'm pretty picky about outcomes not being what I want them to be. And what can I do to improve? Not what can you do to improve, but what can I do to improve your job?
What do you all use Pulsera?
We are in the process of, we do for one facility, but I have 3. And I've got one that just said, we're not going to do it. So Washington Regional does use it. We were just doing trauma, cardiac stroke, major trauma, cardiac stroke. Now we're going to everything with Pulsera with Washington Regional. We are at everything Pulsera with Mercy Rogers. Northwest Springdale said, we're not playing. So Northwest Springdale's lost their trauma designation down to level 4. And so we have a protocol in place. Anything under 18 now, we go to Arkansas Children's Northwest, unless it's fixing to die. And I hate to use that term, but that's the easiest way to say it. And then we go to regional with it. Let them stabilize and they can transfer it over there if they need to. But we found that to be our best situation. Bad thing about it, the cardiologist that everybody loves in Northwest Arkansas lives in Huntsville, Dr. Green. And so everybody that's having any chest pain or anything wants to go to Northwest, see Dr. Green. And granted, he's retiring, not accepting any more patients. So we have to tell them that. And they, oh no, I want to go see him. He'll see me. And so, you know, we have those battles. We're hoping Northwest gets on board with it. Because right now we're doing, with regional, we're doing Pulsera and radio to confirm that they have received our Pulsera report. So we had an incident where they said they didn't, and I had copies where they did. And come to find out, the ward clerk was picking up the Pulsera and not passing it along. So that didn't work out too well. Ward clerks now in working for the janitor portion. But anyway, that was not a good situation at all. But legal, man, they're on every corner. I got hit head on here a month and a half or so back. Totaled out my car. I went on to work. Dang near before I got back home, I already had 5 calls from different lawyers wanting to know if I wanted to sue somebody. They could take my case. Oh no. I got insurance. They had insurance. I don't care. I wasn't hurt. That was why I fired mine. I answer the phone now. I don't need to pay somebody money to sit there and answer a telephone and look pretty. I need somebody to be professional to the customer when they call or come by. And it saves me $45,000 a year. Yep, gotta treat on my family.
What is with you two today?
First responders 2101 need you to go to 2202 Highway 62 West, 2202 Highway
That's west,
62 West. 73-year-old male recently had a stroke. He's been sleeping for a couple of days. Spring River told them to get him to a hospital to have him reevaluated.
Oh, no. Oh, okay.
Now, Barker's out there, the old Barker house, ain't it?
Yes, 22 copies on the air out.
Anyway,
111 copies.
Thanks, sir.
Grammar professionalism.
Yeah. You're a case of non-professionalism among them. It's like one. Hi.
this is one of the biggest challenges, honestly, in today's EMS field. I always thought, they just sit around on their butt, get paid big money to sit around, not do anything. Well, number one, we don't get paid big money. I can assure you, yes, I'm gonna sit on my butt, but I don't stop from the moment I get there until I finally come home. And I have to make sure I have an ambulance available for every call. I only have 3 ambulances covering that big old county.
Right.
And there's a lot of times I bring in Central, Springdale Fire, Eureka Fire, Southern, North Art, Franklin County, depending on where it's at. I run all the way to Deer from Huntsville. So I have some 80-mile response times, response. So it's real important. There's a lot of times when medics are with a patient for an hour and a half. And
Well, that's not unheard of here either.
no, you're
They go
exactly
right
right.
over,
Exactly right. Especially many islands,
Mhm.
all that area down in there.
We're an hour from everything. We've got Stone County, we've got West Plains, we've got White River, we've got Baxter, all an hour.
Uh-huh, absolutely. But you know what? You guys make us look good. I
Well-
promise you, y'all make us look good. And I do. And I tell my guys every day, thank y'all. I'll come in and they'll be dragging their butt around. Oh, so tired. Well, I've been here, we've had 7 calls, just in a short amount of time I've been here. And I know they're breaking their butts over there, and it's so foggy out there, they said.
Mhm.
But, tomorrow when I get there, I'll buy them breakfast. And I can spend $10 and feed all 6 crew members breakfast. And
What are you buying?
Huh?
What are you buying?
Oh, I go to Harps and get biscuits and sausage or something like that, just something. Or every once in a blue moon, I'll say, all right, let's sort of go to Granny's and I'm buying lunch. And we'll all go eat hamburgers and fries or whatever down in Granny's kitchen there. Just to show them appreciation. I don't make big money.
The gesture.
I don't mind telling you, I make just under 72,000 a year. And that's not, to me, not big money. For the miles I have to drive and the hours I have to spend, the up and down all night with pagers going off and phone calls and texts coming in, that's not big money. It pays my bills and pays Leslie's bills, buys her gas. But we have the task of operations and the responsibility to make sure that you guys are well taken care of. And it's my responsibility to lead by example. So if I come in, I wear jeans to work because I have some issues with my leg. And it's hard for me to wear uniform pants because it gets tied around some scarring. So if I come in in a t-shirt, all slouched, hat shaved, and weak, my crew's gonna think it's okay for them to do it too. That's not what I want presenting to a patient that's the old granny go-ho out here that's 97-year-old, having no problems going to the bathroom. I don't want them looking like that. So it's our responsibility to lead by example. What should you do? Yeah, you're right. Tell them to go wash the dang uniform. Take them, put them in a pair of shorts, take them down the laundromat. They'll clean themselves. Go take a shower. Don't be afraid to tell them they stink. I do. It's set up here, y'all making me sweat. What do we do? Honesty is by far the best policy. Don't make her wonder. Because she's going to continuously ask. Yes, she's going to become upset, very upset. But we've done the right thing by being honest and letting her know that her husband is deceased, dead. We've never been there.
Since there Sunday.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
Patient.
You make sure they ate?
Oh, she did.
Absolutely so.
Well,
Did
she
you help
wanted
them?
it.
You go in, you offer to help them eat. I mean, that's your patient at that point, in my opinion. Sure, they're still under hospital care, but they're fixing to be under my care. I want to make sure they've been well fed and well taken care of before I hit the road.
You start carrying stuff out the truck,
Yeah, yeah, you can kill all kinds of time doing different things.
starting your
Do your paperwork, absolutely.
This was one of the first psych patients in a long time I actually had sympathy for. Because bless her heart, she didn't know what was going on with her.
Yeah.
First time she'd ever done anything like this in her life.
I was that way when they give me 5 of Versed and 50 ketamine. Let me tell you how that'll render you unresponsive for 20 minutes. I had no idea,
I gave him a little too much.
but I did not feel them cardio burn me 3 times
Right.
until I woke up.
Was that
You know,
before or after your
It
titanium?
was after. Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
We were talking about that with the Lucas. Would you break a Lucas?
No, it would actually compress because you're compressing the ribs and the costa cartilage instead of the sternum.
Okay.
Now, what you're going to do is you're going to separate the wires off my ribs. I'm going to have a flail chest and possibly puncture what's left of my right lung.
Oh, only.
But
Only.
that's okay. I mean, we can stick a needle in
We can
it
fix
and be
that.
all right. I mean, honestly, we learn,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, there you go.
Put one in the truck, right, keep on.
Oh my gosh. Ooh.
I just got well.
Our quality, yeah, I promise you, buddy. You don't want one of those. Our work habits. Do we come in, we go to bed? Do we
No.
come in, do we check our truck,
Yeah.
make sure our truck's clean? Absolutely. That shows to the community. I saw it, there you go. Are we patient focused? Or are we more worried about what's going on at the station? Or, man, I wonder if Razorbacks playing tonight. You know, or are we locked in on that patient and exactly what's going on with that patient? Are we customer centered? Everybody in this room is my customer right now. So I hope that I'm educating everyone the way I need to be. Not that I'm an educator, y'all need to comment from the back row. Are we caregiver inspired? We look at our partner and say, man, you impress me. Thank you for your help. How long has it been since you thanked your partner? Honestly, thank your partner for helping you.
Thank you for showing up every day, every time they do something. I'm always.
That's awesome. That is great to hear because there's so many in our business that are there for themselves, just a stepping stone. That's all they see their partner as. And you want to piss me off? I'm sorry, out there. Hello, I'm sorry. I said piss me off. Show disrespect to the partner that was just on the scene helping you, especially like on a PD code. I'm already fired up.
Tim's really good about that, and he does
Yes,
pats
he
on the
is.
backs and good job.
Absolutely. So Tim is a great person to learn from.
He's patting you all on the back.
He does me.
That's the other boy.
Well, that's
Put yourself like that.
Tim
pats
has
me on the
always
head.
been an honest individual.
It's because you're right there.
And
I know.
and he has been a great person to learn from. And he and I've been friends for, Lord, I guess 40 years now. And I dropped and come running for him in a heartbeat if he called and need help.
Talk
Well-
about patient focus, that more, maybe 12, 13 years ago, lady that had the systole runs that we caught. She was running 6 seconds of the systole.
Ooh.
And the doctor told Randy when we got her to West Point, he's like, I wouldn't have believed it if y'all hadn't
That
captured
guy
it on the
captured it
monitor."
on a monitor. Yeah.
But she was like, well, I'm just kind of feeling like I just don't feel real good and I'm doing okay, but this morning I'm like, ready? Flat, record.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate when I do that.
Yeah. Code summary, all of these things here bring in a great leader. And I don't question it about you guys at all. I mean, I've worked over here. I know what y'all deal with. I know how far it is to get back up to Mammoth if you had a call. I know how far it is to run down the many islands and pick up a drunk and have to fight them all the way up to West Plains. I mean, I get it. And you make this, you take this slide and you make this an everyday goal, and you will be a great leader. I try. I do my best to try to follow this. I don't consider myself a great leader. I consider my employees that I work for as my leader, because they do the excellent work out there in the field. They're the ones out there representing my company. They're the ones out there representing our county and taking care of these people that are in such critical condition. Those are the great leaders. And until we start telling them that, we're not doing our job as true management. My opinion, for what it's worth. Okay, so we've been through all of this. And you need to pay attention to this, I think, because this is what all of my research I put together on this. This is what I've come up with.
Oh,
So that's all I got. Unless you want me to drag out another. I've only got 86. So but I try to pick out things I feel like are important. PTSD is very, very, I'm very passionate about it. I know I talk about it a lot. I lecture about it all over the nation. And one thing that I have tried to instill later on has been, you got to return to your station. If you're having a problem, look to your right or look to your left, and you talk to that person in the cab of that truck. Just you two there. And if you can't trust your partner on an ambulance, who can you trust? To be honest with and to let them know, hey, and that really bothers me. I wished I would have had it. I had a partner who was the first paramedic in Arkansas. So when I went to work with him, he was jaded, burnout. You may have remembered him, Randy Earl Triplett.
Mhm.
He had no compassion whatsoever. And you tell him something bothered you, oh, shut up, get over it. His EMT number was 1332. So, where I'm going with this, and then I'll shut up, guys, is don't take this home without talking to somebody. Y'all got my phone number. I left my cards here. That phone rings 24 hours a day. Sometimes my memory's a little short, ain't it, Randy? But,
Or you may be a road trip and you need to do it.
it just, it's vitally important that we start sharing this stuff, guys. We're not Superman. We're not suprahuman. We cry. We have tears, and our hearts hurt. What's that?
We should.
We should. If we don't, are we in the right spot? Are we actually showing the compassion that we need to be showing to our patient? I'm not saying, go out here and ball and swallow on every call, but there's going to be times where you're going to have calls that will bother you. And if you don't tell your partner, man, take your time getting back to the station. I just need a moment. Don't check us in service yet. I need a moment. And it's
an hour that morning.
yeah, well, there's some old employees around here, they never would check in service if that was the case.
Well, this was just here trying to transition from trucks, and Mike was the calmest of, what was it, 4 of us?
4 of us. When I'm the calm one, you know shit's real.
That was a rough morning.
Guys, y'all know I've been lucky enough to receive accolades over the years. I look at them now, it's just a piece of wood. One of my highest honors was induction into the Hall of Fame. I guess because I was not expecting to ever be inducted into it while I was alive. And especially since I was the one that developed the Hall of Fame. I thought, why would you ever want to put me in it? But they completely caught me off guard. And it is a complete honor for me to represent EMS in Arkansas. And I do this out of the kindness of my heart wherever I go. If people pay me, that money goes to the Arkansas EMS Foundation. And that is to support you guys in the event of hard times. And they send out, I think it's $500. They'll send out to an EMT or paramedic that's licensed in the state that's going through a tough time. House burning, car accident, medical issues. So
Fly on the truck and break their
ankle. I got paid. I don't mind telling y'all, the state of Wisconsin paid me $10,000 for the foreign class I did, and every bit of that money went straight to the foundation. You see the license plates. Everybody pays roughly $50 for those license plates. 25 of that goes to the foundation.
It does?
Yes.
Wow.
We set that up. When Brenda and I set that up, that was the whole basis on it. And it was approved through our legislative staff to be able to do that. So that's why you see them on every vehicle I have, even my kids.
Well, I know they used to go to the association and then they quit. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna give the state $50 just to have my EMS tag.
Absolutely so.
But now
It goes to the EMS Foundation.
Okay.
And that money is, it's a nonprofit. It goes right back into your pockets if
I will
needed.
have mine back in 2 weeks.
And it's some of the things you would not believe that we see where guys are that desperate, needing help. And a good friend of mine recently had a medical issue, and the first thing I did was call him and give him his name and his mailing address. And before he got home, there was a check in his mailbox.
Wow.
And it's just what we do. And I'm not trying to be a pitch man for the foundation or anything like that. I just want y'all to know there are things out there that are benefiting EMS. We still fight the fire guys with legislation. They have a lot more lobbyists than we do. But Bart's helping me a lot with some legislation stuff. And then I've got several others that I've gotten put on board. So think of anything or know of anything that y'all want to see changed around, man, just give me a shout. Wouldn't be the first bill I wrote. Probably won't be the last one. But,
So do you teach classes on like grant writing? You're talking about bills and stuff.
I've written several grants. I'm not allowed to educate on those because I am one of the people who looks at the grants and approves or denies them.
Oh.
So I had to sign a contract that I would not write a grant. I could tell you if it was written, whether or not it would be, I would approve it or not. Right. But I can't have my name associated with it in any manner. But I haven't been up there in the last 3 years, so I'm hoping I'm done with it. But I've done all the fire assistance grants for the last 30 plus years, ever since it come out.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get away from it. I think hopefully by now I have. Me and the fire chief of Honolulu, Hawaii, we were a team. And well, Chief Dan, come I can't pronounce his name. He's good, great guy. But you write the grant, look at the grant, need any help, you got my phone number. Got me email. That's my personal email, it's not business, so it's easy to eliminate that trail. You guys run into anything that y'all know, anything at all, if y'all need over here that I can do, I'll be right here. Takes me a couple hours to get here. And, but I'll be over. Unless Randy's working.
It's a good thing we didn't let you know. he was working
Yeah,
today.
absolutely so. I tell you, I was tickled death to see Randy. Randy's he's my buddy. I'm unhooking if that means anything. And